I like a painting that you can see for several blocks. That's my idea of a great painting. I like a painting that looks athletic, you know, that looks like it has some muscle to it. I'm totally fascinated with clouds. I love the fact that you can look up in the air and you can see a really dark cloud on a light sky, or you can see a really light cloud on a dark sky, or you can see a light cloud in a light sky, or a dark cloud in a dark sky. But you know, there's all these contrasts up there. In the evening, you see these unbelievably strong contrasts, and really, so I'm sort of been playing with that idea. I say I'm making a cloud shape, but it doesn't look fluffy, it doesn't look wispy, it doesn't look like it's blowing, it looks like it's solid. So basically I'm turning transient, malleable things into more strongly object things. There's natural color. And then there's this man-made color, which in a sense is actually industrial color. This is titanate yellow. It's a sort of off, slightly crummy color yellow, but it's very opaque. And so when you mix it with other things, now this is a cadmium yellow. Let's take a look at the cadmium and the titanate together. This is much brighter. This is more opaque. I like to paint with this color, and I never get very far away from it. I mix it, I move it around, but I just love it. I don't know, why would you not paint with this? I mean, you know, you tell students all the time, mix your colors, mix your colors. This is my favorite tool, and I have not been able to find another one like it. It's a tool that the sheetrockers use to lay the mud in the crevices between the sheetrock. That's that edge. So that becomes the source of the edge, this. If I do that, and this yellow here and blue here, where it meets, forms that edge. So the swing of the arm makes the shape. I think curves and straights are the most contrasting. So a pure curve and a pure straight contrast. And it's not to say that a wiggly line or a jagged or an uncertain or torn line isn't interesting. It just isn't interesting to me. It's the opposite of a person who likes to tear the paper and have that shred. They like that shreddedness. I like it. I like cleaner lines. I like something that looks like it could be made out of wood or metal or something. You know? As soon as you put a circle in a painting, it becomes a moon or a bowling ball or a sun or a hole. And in this case, I made it black because I had it white, and I hated how the white looked in relation to these divergent rays here. And so I said, oh, what the heck, it's not about naturalism, I just make it black. And that allows the stuff behind it to be brighter looking. And it also kind of speaks to this little guy over here, whatever it is. And so we have some strong blacks, and then we have this higher range of color and brighter values. And then we have this sort of reference to the sky and a cloud over here, a really abstract cloud. There's a spatial thing that happens with a circle. If the circle comes forward, everything sinks back behind it. Mm-hmm. And here this is sitting right at the top of this little white hill, and behind it is this strong diagonal. And then back here, you step back, you step back, you step back further, you step back further, and then way back. So that kind of sets up a sort of an abstract stepping stones or stairway to get back into space. And so this space back get a really fresh look when you take anything out of the studio, move it into a space where it's going to be exhibited. When you're working on a show, you do try to have a slightly coherent group of paintings. There might be things that don't quite fit, but you're really looking for some kind of cohesion.
It's 15 and a half, right there. About like that?
Yeah.
Some of the consignment that you just brought in. Does it look level?
Yeah.
Make any mistakes here, so I'm on it. Watched. I think that's just
That one says vertical motion. This one says budding plant. Emerson had a wonderful quote. I won't be able to get it word perfect, but what he said was, the beauty of the clouds is available to everybody. It doesn't matter if you're poor, you're rich, you're miserable, you're wealthy. It doesn't matter. You can look up. These 5 paintings on the subject of water are for the Bakersfield Federal Courthouse in Southern California. These paintings are designed to deal with engineered water, agricultural water, wild water, and the interconnections between all these kinds of water in Southern California, where the project is. And engineered water has beautiful, literally engineered curves, and the aqueduct has a spectacular perspective. And then, of course, wild water is more rambunctious and it allows the painter to invent more things. The engineers were trying to make the water go where they wanted it to go because they thought there were places where it should be and places where there was too much of it. So they make this unbelievable, Egyptian scale shapes. You get out of the car and you stand there and you look and you just think, I can see forever. This whole shape is interesting to me. So basically I have presented you with 3 versions of this shape. This is the one that bends over itself, this is the one that's really a sweep, and this is the one at the bottom that's going off the edge. Let's take a look at this one, which is the other big one of the paintings. Which is Canyon Song, El Canto del Agua, the Song of the Water. And it is about the Kern River Canyon. And the Kern River Canyon is a very, very steep, narrow gorge that this very powerful river carves into this granite. The southern Sierra are granite, and they're very rocky, and this river has been carving into here for thousands and thousands of years. So basically this is about the canyon and about the noise in the canyon, the sound in the canyon. What we saw that made me imagine this painting was we saw a place in the wall of the canyon where the water came directly out of the stone. And we started asking people, what is that? And they said, well, that's the penstock that goes down to the water plant down there. And when the water master decides that they don't need any more water in that particular hydroelectric plant, they cut it off and they put it back into the canyon. Part of what's going on here is a whole series of overlapping shapes. And the overlapping shapes are very important to the sense of distance and the sense of volume that you get here. And yet, because of the linear treatment, it's also fairly flat. All these lines are cut out, sort of like a cartoonist would cut out different shapes. There are so many different parts to this painting. It's kind of like an articulation of a whole series of different instruments almost. So it's got that kind of song of the canyon quality to it. And when you're in a canyon, that sound is overwhelming. It's the kind of sound that you're standing there and you hear it and just makes your blood race. We're coming to the last two paintings in the series of 5, which are a little bit smaller. They'll be on the first floor of the courthouse. And I think they're an interesting contrast because this represents my idea of wild water, which would be basically the headwaters. The headwaters are where the river is sourced up high. And this is an invented painting. It's just based on an idea of what the rocks in the water would look like. This one represents the Friant-Kern Canal, which is down in the valley, and it represents, again, engineered water. This part here is the loosest and the most inventive, and the place where the colors are, you're allowed to be more abstract, or I feel that I can be more abstract about color. And then you have this kind of smooth versus drippy, and this little jittery stuff here, which is some little burst of wind that hit there. This is part of 4 paintings, which I call the land grant paintings for Oregon State University, because Oregon State University is a land grant college, and these paintings are about weather, water, the ocean, the hydrological cycle, which is starting with the water in the ocean that evaporates into the air and then is condensed into clouds. And the clouds travel onshore, and they dump rain on the Coast Range, and they dump rain and snow on the Cascades. So rarely do we think about the fact that if we didn't have this uplift of vapor from the ocean, we would have to carry all that stuff ourselves, and the clouds do it for us. That big one, I might not have got the top of that big one. Oh, I love seeing them sideways. So here's the big question: can I write on the back at an angle like this, or do I have to have it upright? All right, this one's done.
Yeah. We just need the one door to play.
Yeah, it's gonna be right down there.
No, you're fine. We'll be coming back later.
I think seeing the painting adjusted on the wall is interesting. Seeing it shimmy around and trying to get it right, and seeing it lifted through space and seeing it tilted is all very interesting, because you see it as an object in the world, whereas when you're painting, you see it as the world. It's exciting to see the paintings in relation to the color of the walls, because they're so strongly striped. And all along, I've been referring to these walls as tiger stripe walls. These paintings are, well, they're black and white and yellow and blue, and then they have this secondary salmon-colored line that goes through them, which tends to echo the tiger stripe wall. I get these images and I paint them over and over and over, and every time I paint them, the outside edge changes, and the inside color changes, and the stroke direction changes. And so there's something in my mind that is making me continue to work on something until I get something that I think is interesting, that looks alive, that looks vigorous. I want people to feel the urge to dance when they look at my paintings. When I got finished with the project for OSU, I suddenly realized I wasn't through with these mountains, and I started back on it, especially to deal with the melt patterns, the places where the mountain is bare and the places where it has snow on it. I don't know what's coming up next, but when you have a show go up, there's this sudden feeling that the trap door is open and anything might come in. You never know, but when you put the show up and you look at the show, you think, huh, that's what I was doing. You know, now I want to do this other thing. The show helps you. It's like a springboard. If you have a show, you can see yourself.